चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीचैतन्य स्थापितं येन श्रीगुरु सहगण साधवैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्य श्री राधा कृष्ण सहगण श्री विशाल पादाय कृष्णाय श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य नमो महावरण्याय कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गौरांग श्रीराधे नवनीश्वरी देवी प्रणमामि नीलाचल निवास नित्याय भगवद्गीता स्वतरा जगन्नाथ जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर हरे कृष्णा हरे हरे राम हरे राम Hare Krishna. So we are supposed to begin chapter 26, a description of the hellish planets. So let us begin with text 1. Rajuvacha Maharsha etad Vaichitrayam lokasya katham iti. King Parikshit inquired from Sukadeva Goswami, my dear sir, why are the living entities put into different material situations? Kindly explain this to me. But Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the different hellish planets within this universe above the Garbhodak ocean and remains situated there. This chapter describes how all sinful persons go to these hellish planets and how they are punished there by the assistance of Yamaraj. Different individuals with different bodily features enjoy or suffer various reactions according to their past deeds. Rishiruvacha Trigunatvат karato shraddhaya karmagataya prithak vidha sarva eva sarvasya tarat tamyena bhavanti. The great sage Sukadeva Goswami said, my dear king, in this material world, there are three kinds of activities. Those in the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. Because all people are influenced by the three modes of material nature, the results of their activities are also divided into three. One who acts in the mode of goodness is religious and happy. One who acts in passion achieves mixed misery and happiness. And one who acts under the influence of ignorance is always unhappy and lives like an animal. Because of the varying degrees to which the living entities are influenced by the different modes of nature, their destinations are also of different varieties. Text 3. अतेदानीं प्रतिसिद्धा लक्षणस्य धर्मस्य तथैव कर्तु श्रद्धया वैशादृश्यात् कर्मफलम्. अतेदानीं प्रतिसिद्धा लक्षणस्य धर्मस्य तथैव कर्तु श्रद्धया वैशादृश्यात् कर्मफलम् विषादृशिं भवन्ति यः अनादि अविद्याय कृतकामनां तत्परिणामलक्षणः श्रिताय सहस्रसा प्रावृत्तास्तासां प्रचुर्येण अनुवर्णायिष्यमः. Just as by executing various pious activities, one achieves different positions in heavenly life, by acting impiously, one achieves different positions in hellish life. Those who are activated by the material mode of ignorance engage in impious activities, and according to the extent of their ignorance, they are placed in different grades of hellish life. If one acts in the mode of ignorance because of madness, his resulting misery is the least severe. One who acts impiously but knows the distinction between pious and impious activities is placed in a hell of intermediate severity. And for one who acts impiously and ignorantly because of atheism, the resultant hellish life is the worst. Because of ignorance, every living entity has been carried by various desires into thousands of different hellish planets since time immemorial. I shall try to describe them as far as possible. So here Sri Sukadeva Goswami is describing how the severity of punishment in the hellish planets depends upon uh, the degree of willful choice which the living entity makes uh, in embracing and clinging on to the mode of ignorance. जय श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी सुदर्शन महाराज शील प्रभुपाद की जय. So one who is willfully choosing the mode of ignorance is most severely punished. Just like when a police officer acts as a thief is more severely punished. The same way. In the same way, the Shastra describes that offense is more severely punished than sin. Why? Because offense is willful. After knowing what is what, then one acts in a wrong way. Then one is liable to be punished very badly. But if one is intoxicated and that's what commits a mistake, the punishment will be less. That's what the Sukhdev Maharaj is explaining here. So Sukhdev Maharaj is explaining here how, because of ignorance, every living entity has been carried by various desires into thousands of different hellish planets. So materialistic people many times they criticize and ask why does the God create hellish planets? But that question, why does the God create hellish planets? Well, this is not the real question. This is simply passing the buck on the Supreme Lord. No? The real question is why does the living entity drive himself to the hellish planets? It's simple. If you know ahead is a mountain cliff and the road ends there, and after that is a cliff, then why does the cliff exist is not a substantial question. The substantial question is why does the person kept walking, knowing that it is a dead end, and then fell down the cliff? Who is responsible? Cliff? Who is responsible? When a person commits suicide jumping down a building, the building is not demolished. It's not the building's problem. It is the person's problem. Why to blame the building? So why Krishna has created hellish planets, sir? Why does the living entity go there at all? That's the idea. He will then losing. Therefore, we understand that uh, how dangerous is the predicament of the living entity. And all these material desires, they're so dangerous. They can drive one to thousands of hellish planets. What is the driving compass? The material desire. So if we harbor spiritual desires, one will go back to Krishna. That is the point. So Krishna is not to be blamed for the creation of the hellish planets. The living entity himself or herself drives his or her own way into these hellish planets. Well, yes, the purpose of these hellish planets is rectification. That somehow the mentality of cheap carnal sense gratification is so deep rooted. That mentality, because it is so deeply rooted, it requires a deep processing to get it uprooted. That is the whole idea behind the hellish planets. Hardwired removal of the sinful proclivities. That is the point. Rajavacha नरकानां भगवान् किं देशविशेष अथैव बहिस्त्रीलोक्य अहोश्वेत् अंतरल इति. King Parikshit inquired from Sukadeva Goswami, my dear Lord, are the hellish regions outside the universe, within the covering of the universe, or in different places on this planet? Rishiruvacha Antarala iva त्रिजगत्यास्तु दिशि दक्षिणस्याम् अधःस्तद्भूमेर् उपरिस्तक् च जलाद् यस्याम् अग्निस्त्वत्तादया पित्रादिशि स्वानां गोत्राणां परमेन समाधीन सत्या एव शीशा आससना निवसन्ति. The great sage Sukadeva Goswami answered, all the hellish planets are situated intermediate space between the three worlds and the Garbhodak ocean. They lie on the southern side of the universe, beneath the Bhumandala, and slightly above the water of the Garbhodak ocean. Pitraloka is also located in this region between the Garbhodak and the lower planetary systems. All the residents of the Pitraloka, headed by Aganishwatta, meditate in great samadhi on the Supreme Personality of Godhead and always wish their families well. Purpose. As previously explained below, below our planetary system are seven lower planetary systems. The lowest of which is Patala Loka. Beneath Patala Loka are other planets known as Naraka Loka or the hellish planets. At the bottom of the universe lies the Garbhodak ocean. Therefore, the hellish planets lie between Patala Loka and the Garbhodak ocean. यत्र भगवान् पितृराजो विवस्वतः स्वविषयां प्रापितेषु स्वपुरुषेर्जन्तुषु सम्परेतेषु यथा कर्मवाद्यं दोषम् एवानुलङ्घिता भगवत् शासना सगनो दामं धरयति. The king of the Pitas is Yamaraj, the very powerful son of the sun god. He resides in Pitraloka with his personal assistants. And while abiding by the rules and regulations set down by the Supreme Lord, has his agents, the Yamadutas, bring all the sinful men to him immediately upon their death. After bringing them within his jurisdiction, He properly judges them according to their specific sinful activities and sends them to one of the many hellish planets for suitable punishments. Purport: Yamaraj is not a fictitious or mythological character. He has his own abode, Pitraloka, of which he is the king. Agnostics may not believe in hell, but Sukadev Goswami affirms the existence of the Naraka planets, which lie between the Garbhodak Ocean and the Patala Loka. Yamaraj is appointed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to see that the human beings do not violate his rules and regulations. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Karmano hi api bodhavyam 417. Karmano hi api bodhavyam cha vikarmanah akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmato karmano gati. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. One should understand the nature of karma, vikarma, akarma, and one must act accordingly. This is the law of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The conditioned souls who have come to this material world for sense gratification are allowed to enjoy their senses under certain regulative principles. If they violate these regulations, they are judged and punished by Yamaraj. He brings them to the hellish planets and properly chastises them to bring them back to Krishna consciousness. By the influence of Maya, however, the conditioned souls remain infatuated with the mode of ignorance. Thus, in spite of repeated punishment by Yamaraj, they do not come to their senses but continue to live within the material condition, committing sinful activities again and again. Yes. Chastisement has multiple roles. The first is to forcibly take off the belligerent and sinful mentality. Chastisement plays a good role there. Therefore, this role of chastisement is there in the training. Every child is trained in this way by punishment and reward. So the platform of fear has its role. And the person is fearful of the punishment, that, oh, I'll be punished. But this also has a role. See, psyche is something very complex. Psyche has various ingredients in it. Sometimes you may see in psyche, a person may be very afraid to do a particular kind of sinful activity. He is not opposed to the idea of doing, but just afraid to do it. Implicitly, that fear is there. Where it is coming from the hellish punishment. Because implicitly, that element of fear is instilled in the mind. And to some extent, it can help a person not do a sinful activity. That is the point. Just like electroconvulsive treatment can cure certain psychic problems. Not always, not everything, but to some extent it has an effect. Because the person has gone beyond, see, the person can be explained verbally, then counseling is there. When it has gone beyond, then chemicals are there, the antipsychotics are there. When it has gone beyond chemicals, then electrical signals are there. When it has gone beyond that, then Krishna is there. Krishna is there for that. Yeah. So the point is that when everything fails, still Krishna consciousness can work. And Krishna consciousness works every time. That is the point. So you see, the point is when a person goes beyond the range of, see, this is madness. Madness means that the person is gone beyond the scope of talks, beyond the scope of negotiations, beyond the scope of logic. Then logic negotiations don't work. Then a person has to be given pills, chemicals. By the effect of the chemicals, chemically the person is controlled to a bit and brought to a state where logic can go inside the head, so the heart can be transformed. When this all doesn't work, then electrical signals. The nervous system is fired. There is intervention in the nervous system. So it has its role for various cases of candidates. For various cases of candidates. So this is one thing what chastisement brings about. The other thing what chastisement does is for hard nuts who are never going to stop, chastisement just puts a full stop to their nonsense. So to start again, that will take a long time. So for hardened now fellows who are not going to hear anything, chastisement has its role. So it's not that why chastisement is to be given when people are not learning the lesson. No, chastisement will save some people at least. See, counseling saves some people. Does it not? Almost, no, people are just lost into sense gratification. Who will hear Krishna's message? And Baba, you speak Krishna's message and then you will see who will hear. At least you are hearing, na? You will not go in Maya. Is it not? When we are preaching, at least we are hearing, na, what we are speaking. So at least we'll be protected and we'll not fall down to Maya. But some people will definitely hear. So we go out for preaching. Somebody at least hears. Somebody at least reciprocates. Is it not? We don't know who will be that candidate, but somebody will be there. That we know. Is it not? So, sir, just like counseling or preaching is effective to at least some people take benefit of it. Similarly, this third degree treatment also is effective. Some people will at least take benefit of it. But there will be others who will not subscribe to it. So therefore, there is no much point in evaluating the idea of punishment. It has its purpose. Text 7. It's a big text. Too big. तत्र हैके नरकान् एकविंशतिं गणयन्ति यथा राजन् नामरूपलक्षणतो अनुक्रमिष्या यामस्तमिश्रो अन्धतमिश्रो रौरवो महारौरवो कुम्भिपाका कालसूत्रम् असीपत्रवनम् सुकारमुखम् अन्धकूपम् कृमिभोजन संदांसस्तप्त सुमेर वज्रकांतका। श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। सालमलिवैतरणे पुयोदा प्राणरुधो विशासनाम लालभक्षा सरमेयादनम अविचीर आप्यपानः इति किंच शरकर्म कर्दमो रक्षोगना भोजनः शूलप्रोतो दंडसूको अवता निरोधन पर्यावर्तनः शुचिमुखामिति अष्टविंशतिर्नरका विविधा यातना भूमायः। Some authorities say that there is a total of 21 hellish planets, and some say 28. My dear king, I shall outline all of them according to the names, forms, and symptoms. The names of the different planets of hell. So the names of the different hells are as follows. Tamishra, Andha Tamishra, Raurava, Maharaurava, Kumbhipaka, Kalasutra, Asipatravanaha, Shukaramukha, Andhakupa, Krimibhojanaha, Sandamsa, Taptasurami, Vajrakantaka Shalmali, Vaitarani, Puyodha, Pranarodha, Vishashana, Lalabhaksha, Sarame Yadana, Avichi, Ayahapana, Sharakardama, Avichi, Ayahapana, Sharakardama, Rakshogana Bhojana, Sulaprota, Dandasukha, Avata, Niroba, Nirodhana, Paryavartana, and Sukhamukha. All these planets are meant for punishing the living entities. So it's a big long list. Yeah. तत्रयस्तु परवित्त पत्य कलत्राणि अपहरति सहि काल पाशबद्धो यमपुरुषेर अति भयानकैस्तामिश्र नरके बलान् निपत्यते अनसानुदपाना दंडताड़न संतर जनादिभिर यता यतनादिभिर यत्यामनो जन्तुर्यत्र कस्मलम् आसदीत एकदैव मूर्छम् उपयते तामिश्र प्राप्ये. My dear king, a person who appropriates another's legitimate wife, children, or money is arrested at the time of death by the fierce Yamadutas, who bind him with the rope of time and forcibly throw him into the hellish planet. So Tamishra, so one who appropriates another's legitimate wife, children, or money, is arrested at the time of death by the fierce Yamadutas, who bind him with the rope of time and forcibly throw him into the hellish planet known as Tamishra. On this very dark planet, the sinful man is chastised by the Yamadutas, who beat and rebuke him. He's starved, he's given no water to drink. Thus, the wrathful assistants of Yamaraj cause him severe suffering, and sometimes he faints from their chastisement. The Vedas do legitimately give allowance for sense gratification. And therefore, the calling of the Vedas is that if anybody is hankering for sense gratification, then better do it legitimately because there is a legitimate channel. So, if one uses illegitimate means, then punishment is certain. So now we can see, this is like electroconvulsive treatment only. Because that mentality, so that mentality of envy is so strong, or rebellion to God is so strong, that one, even if one is knowing that this principle of the Shastra is beneficial, still one will not follow willfully. So that is why hellish punishment is given, so that somehow or the other that mentality is reduced in its intensity. Krishna consciousness is most logical. Krishna consciousness is statistical also. There is proof. Then why don't people take it? Because they cover themselves with this kind of problems. So one is the platform of fear which can save the person. Another is implicitly this mentality is broken and crushed and pulverized by this. So that implicitly person does not think in that direction. So this arrangement can save some people, but there will be still some hardcore fellows who will still not budge. एवमेवान् धातमिश्रे. Hmm? Yeah, they'll go to Tamishra. Yeah, somebody cheating money and usurps money unlawfully. There is a way to lawfully earn money, which is given. Varna system, one can take care of one's needs in a legitimate way. But one applies unlawful means that is sinful. Such people will be punished. Such people will be punished. That is true. Evam evan dhatamishrey yastu vanchayatya purusham daradin उपयुङ्क्ते यत्र शारीरी निपत्यमानो यतनास्थो वेदनाय नष्टमतिर्नष्टदृष्टिश्च भवति यथा वनस्पतिर्वृश्चयमान मूलस् तस्मात् अन्धतामिश्रं तम् उपदिशन्ति. The destination of a person who slyly cheats another man and enjoys his wife and children is the hell known as Andhatamishra. There his condition is exactly like a tree being chopped at its roots. Even before reaching Andhatamishra, the sinful living being is subjected to various extreme miseries. These afflictions are so severe that he loses his intelligence and sight. It is for this reason the learned sages call this hell as Andatamishra. So previous one was direct exploiting, and this is slyly cheating, duplicitousness. Previous one was direct exploitation, and this is duplicitous cheating. So this is punished even more. That one was beating and all. This is this punishment is a little more severe. Extreme miserable conditions. Yeah, more. So this is more severe, like a tree being chopped off at its roots. What is that? Yeah, most of the people don't chant the holy names. When the Shastra say chant, we have to check out whether they are just saying any casual chanting or there is a qualification in chanting. That has to be checked. Most Indians know what is Krishna, but most Indians criticize also. So then they go in the offensive zones. So many times when we say that okay, anyone who chants that may refer to very sincere, helpless chanting, like Ajamil did. It may not refer to a casual chanting, motivated casual chanting. यस्तव इहवा एतद् अहम् इति ममेदम् इति भूतद्रोहेण केवलं स्वकुटुम्बम् एवानुदिनं प्रपुष्णाति सतत इह विहाय स्वयम् एव तत् Ashubhena Raurave Nipatati. A person who accepts his body as a self works very hard day and night for money to maintain his own body and the bodies of his wife and children. While working to maintain himself and his family, he may commit violence against other living entities. Such a person is forced to give up his body and his family at the time of death when he suffers the reaction for his envy of other creatures by being thrown in the hell called Raurava. In the Bhagavatam, it is said, Yasyatma buddhi kunape tridhatuke swadhikalatra bhauma ijyati yatirtha buddhi salilehi karhisi janeshu vabhishneshu sa eva gokhara. One who accepts his body be bag of three elements, bile, mucus, and air, as a self, who has an affinity for an intimate relationship with his wife and children, who considers his land worshipable and takes bath in the waters of the holy places of pilgrimage, but never takes advantage of those persons who are in actual knowledge. He is no better than an ass or a cow. So this Bhagavatam 10th Canto 84th chapter text 13. There are two classes of men absorbed in the material concept of life. Out of ignorance, a man in the first class thinks his body to be his self, and therefore is certainly like an animal. Sa eva gokaraha. The person in the second class, however, not only thinks his mortal body to be his own self, but also commits all kind of sinful activities in order to maintain his body. He cheats everyone to acquire money. So he cheats everyone to acquire money for his family and the self, and he becomes envious of others without reason. Such a person is thrown into the hell called as Raurava. If one simply considers his body to be his self, as do the animals, he is not very sinful. However, if one needlessly commits sins to maintain his body, he is put into the hell called as Raurava. This is the opinion of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. See, although animals are certainly in the bodily concept of life, they do not commit any sins to maintain their bodies. So animals don't go to hell, but a human being acts enviously and cheats others to maintain his body. Therefore, he is put in a hellish condition. So there are two classes of men absorbed in the material concept of life. Out of ignorance, the man in the first class thinks his body to be the self, and therefore he is certainly like an animal. Gokharaha. The person in second class, however, not only thinks his material body to be the self, but also commits all kind of sinful activities in order to maintain the body. So such a person is thrown in the hell known as Raurava if one simply consider his body to be the self, as do the animals. He is not very sinful. However, if one needlessly commits sins to maintain his body, he is put into the hell called as Raurava. That is the opinion of Shilashana Chakravarti Thakur. See, all the animals are certainly in the bodily concept of life. They do not commit any sins to maintain their bodies, mates, or offspring. Therefore, animals do not go to hell. However, when the human being acts enviously and cheats others to maintain his body, he is put into the hellish condition. Yeah. So Raurava comes when one tries to commit violence against other living entities. Then one goes to Raurava. Yes. Let's read text. The next text. In this life, okay. Let's see the verse. Text 11. This is. ये तव इहा यतनैव अमूना विहिंसिता जन्तव्या परात्र यमयातनामुपगतं त एव भूत्वा तथा ताम् एव विहिंसन्ति तस्माद्रौरवम् इति आहुरुरुर् इति सर्पाद् अतिक्रूर सत्वास् यपदेशः. In this life, an envious person commits violence, violent acts against many living entities. Therefore, after his death, when he is taken to the hell by Yamaraj, those living entities who are hurt by him appear as animals called Rurus, who inflict very severe pain across him. Learned scholars call this hell as Rorva. Not generally seen in this world, the Ruru is more envious than a snake. But according to Sridhar Swami, the Ruru is also known as Bhara Shringa. अतिक्रूरस्य भारसिंहस्य सत्वस्य अपदेशा समुचना. Shri Jeev Goswami confirmed this in his Sandarbha. Ruru Shabdasya Swayam Muninaiva Tika Vidhanal. So Ruru Shabdasya Swayam Muninaiva. This is Tika Vyadhanal Lokeshav Aprasiddha Evayam Jantu Visheshtaha Visheshasaha. Thus, although Rurus are not seen in this world, their existence is confirmed in the Shastras. Yeah. So these Rurus, very envious, more envious than a snake. It's very dangerous. Okay. So this is Ruru. Yeah. So let's read a bit further. So we have to understand, you see, this sinful mentality is very deep rooted. It doesn't go so easily. So here the description of hellish planets, that how such a rigorous antidote is given so that that hellish mentality becomes a bit loose and uprooted from one's existence. So in the positive sense, we can see that you see, because it is deep rooted, such hells are required to straighten our thought process. But on the positive scale, the devotee, knowing one's limitations and sinful proclivity to the past, one should focus and invest in the intensities of practices of Krishna consciousness. The intensities of the practice of Krishna consciousness. So by that, this mentality, deep rooted mentality for sinful life will go away. So therefore, the practices of bhakti full solution because directly the powers of Krishna are involved. Okay, let's read further then. Takes 12. एवमेव महारौरवो यत्र निपतितं पुरुषं क्रव्याद नामरौरवस्तं क्रव्येन घाटयन्ति यः केवलं देशां भार. Punishment in the hell Maharaurava is compulsory for a person who maintains his own body by hurting others. In this hell, Ruru animals known as Kravyada torment him and eat his flesh. So previously there are Rurus, now they are Kravyada. The animalistic person who lives simply in the bodily concept of life is not excused. The animalistic person who lives simply in the bodily concept of life is not excused. He is put into the hell known as Maharorva and attacked by Ruru animals known as Kravyadas. See, therefore, the basic minimum purpose which these hellish punishments will do is that they will act as a speed breaker. The person may still not take the lesson and drive recklessly, but when the speed breaker comes, at least his speed has become zero. It will take time to pick up again. So where the living entity might have been lost and absorbed in his own sinful, in his own loop of sinful activities, there we know these hellish punishments actually just put a dead stop to it. Now that is in one way giving the chance to the person that now at least live a responsible life. And second is to stop him from harming himself further. So here is written by the animals. Very painful. Okay, let's read further. Yes, the इवः स उग्रः पशुपक्षिणो वा उपरन्धायति तम् अपाकरुणां पुरुषैरपि विगर्हिताममुत्र यमना यम आमुः कुम्भिपाके तप्ततैले उपरन्धयन्ति. For the maintenance of their bodies and the satisfaction of their tongues, cruels and birds alike. Such persons are condemned even by the man eaters. In the next life, they are carried by the Yama known as Kumbhipaka, where they are cooked in burning. Yeah, Kumbhivaka. They are cooked in burning fire. Burnt in burning oil. Yes, तब यहाँ ब्रह्मद्रुक सा काल सूत्र समझना के नरके अच्युता योजना परिमण्डले ताम्रमये तप्तखले उपरि अधस्तात् अग्नि अर्कभयम् अति तप्यमाने। हाँ जी। उसमें लिखा है महारौरव का। हाँ जी। The basic logic between these Tamishra and the Tamishra and this is that somebody directly exploits, uh, uh, then he is given punishment. But somebody exploits in a duplicitous way, he is given greater punishment. So somebody hurts them in a duplicitous, in a cunning way, that is Maharorva. So, so duplicitousness and slyness is punished more. So there are Rurus, here there are hmm, yes. The whole point is to make the living entity awakened and responsible to the point that even if one chooses the path of sense gratification, one should be regulated and one should be sensitive to the rights of others and not cross the boundaries. If one does so, these hellish punishments are waiting for a person. So now he's saying, text 14, the killer of the Brahmana is put into the hell known as Kala Sutra, which has a circumference of 80,000 miles and which is entirely made of copper, heated from below by fire and from above by the scorching sun. The copper surface of this planet is extremely hot. Thus, the murderer of a Brahmana suffers from being burned both internally and externally. Internally is burning with hunger and thirst. Externally is burning from the scorching heat of the sun and the fire beneath the copper surface. Therefore, he sometimes lies down, sometimes sits, sometimes stands up, sometimes runs here and there. He must suffer in this way. He must suffer in this way for as many thousands of years as there are hairs on the body of an animal. Yeah, this is a killer of a Brahmana. If one inflicts pain to another person, what is the level of consciousness of the victim? That will decide the punishment. The Brahmana is a very high level of consciousness. Therefore, the reaction of killing a Brahmana is very high. As many thousands of years as there are hairs, body of an animal. So many years actually, such a person is made to suffer. He is burning. He is made to suffer very badly. Okay, so I believe let's stop here for today. We'll continue reading about the hellish planets in our further class. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, हरि बोल।